You're listening to Language Nerds to Earth, the podcast about linguistics, culture, travel, and how they're all connected. And now it's time to meet your language nerd hosts. One in China, one in Spain. It's Patrice and Rachel.
Hi everybody! Welcome to Language Nerds to Earth. I'm Patrice.
And I'm Rachel.
Do you remember us? It's been so long.
Yeah, we took a brief little break due to some traveling, some illness.
Yeah, we were ready to record last week, and then I didn't have a voice, so you can't really record a podcast without a voice.
No, it's kind of necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're back and we're ready to roll.
Yeah, we have a special episode to make up for the lack of episodes. It isn't the episode of all episodes today. We're on episode number 23. Our topic today is cultural superstitions.
Yeah. Now I feel a little intimidated, but anyway, here we go. The episode of all episodes.
Yeah, no pressure. It's fine.
No, but we've got some special guests today, just giving us a brief view into a few different cultures. Obviously, we don't have time to cover every culture, so
Sadly.
Here's just a little introduction, what's the word I'm looking for?
A little window.
Yeah, sure.
Little window into their lives. Yeah, so we're going to look into... First, we'll talk about some different origins of common superstitions in Anglo-Saxon culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to talk about Irish fairies, which are a great cultural superstition, but unfortunately neither of us really knows any Irish people very well. But then we're going to hear from our guests from all over the world on their cultural superstitions and listen to their perspective. But first, we have some language news.
Yeah, I really liked this article.
Yeah, me too.
So this article is about a research team who did an analysis of Twitter, and it kind of shows how new terms in English are developing and what are the regions of origin, basically.
Yeah, this was really cool because it showed us in real time how language evolves, specifically American English in this case. And the researchers used Twitter to watch the evolution of English, which, if you haven't already heard our episode on the evolution of English Part 1, Part 2 is definitely a coming your way soon. It is super interesting. So this was really cool because it was kind of a continuation of that.
Yeah. So basically, they used geocoded data from Twitter, and they created different maps. And you might be able to guess the different kind of regions where things originate. So there was the West Coast, the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, the Deep South, and the Gulf Coast. The Gulf Coast I wouldn't have guessed. I would have guessed maybe the Midwest or something.
Yeah, I agree. The Gulf Coast, it is like a pocket of culture. I mean, you think of like New Orleans and like
true.
Southern Georgia, I guess, maybe?
I guess so, yeah. And Texas, the part
Right.
on the Gulf.
So that makes sense, yeah. There's a lot of Gulf Coast when you think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
But the interesting thing that they said in the article was, linguistics is shifting from a social science to a data science because you can actually quantify the number of times that you see these different terms popping up around the world. So, for example, they tracked the origin of 54 newly emerging words in American English. For example, the word baeless, B-A-E-less, means to be single, originated in the Deep South, while the word mutuals, which is short for mutual friends, originated from the West Coast.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it kind of makes sense, like, for me, mutuals, like, being kind of networky.
Yeah.
Finding your connections might be kind of a West Coast thing.
Right, yeah. I agree. That's a good point. Which actually leads to the kind of conclusion, which is that the spread of new words is not constrained by like from city to city. It doesn't go from city to city and then into the rural areas, but rather by cultural patterns. So new words tend to spread within cultural regions before reaching other areas.
Yeah. And they also don't, nor do they spread from one large city to the next.
Right.
Known as the wave and gravity models.
Oh, okay. So they actually disproved some models of language evolution.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. And that's really interesting to use social media, a social network like Twitter in that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome because, like, they have this huge source of ready-to-use data through Twitter, you know?
Yeah.
And Facebook as well.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of this type of research done.
Yeah.
To give us more insight into language and how it's used.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Cool. Well, we will be posting that article on our show notes for this episode, so be sure to check it out if you're interested in learning more.
Totally.
It's from Science Daily.
Yeah.
So
on to our main topic of the day.
Mm-hmm.
First, we thought we would cover some common superstitions that we have kind of in the Western world. I'm sure some of them are more specific to English speaking and some might be more widespread.
Mm-hmm.
So, shall we start with a couple of our own that come to mind?
Yeah. So you probably are very aware of cultural superstitions. I mean, it's things that you're taught when you're a kid, right? They're weird. A lot of times they're really weird. A lot of our guests, I think all of our guests who were talking about the cultural superstitions, you'll find kind of say, I don't really know why we do this.
Right.
And they feel kind of silly talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's things like, don't step on a crack or you'll break your mother's back.
Mm-hmm.
Or walking under ladders, opening an umbrella indoors, Friday the 13th. Breaking a glass mirror is bad luck. In the case of the mirror, it's 7 years. Throwing salt over your shoulder.
Yeah. If you find a penny, heads up, pick it up.
Mm-hmm, right.
That one has a little rhyme too. Find a penny, pick it up. All day long, you'll have good luck.
Uh-huh.
Knock on wood.
Mm-hmm.
A black cat crossing in front of you.
Yeah.
Carrying a rabbit's foot for good luck. Mm-hmm. Or finding a 4-leaf clover is good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all superstitions that we grew up with in the U.S. I never really took any of them seriously, although for some reason breaking your mother's back if you step on a crack in the sidewalk, like a partition between two pieces of sidewalk, that was a big one when I was a kid.
Yeah, a lot of kids would say that. And then all the kids have to like hop between the pieces of sidewalk.
It's kind of morbid.
Yeah, definitely. The one that I do take seriously is knock on wood.
Oh, yeah, I totally still knock on wood all the time.
Always.
In the UK, I think it's tapping wood. You tap wood. But my UK friends do that too. Interesting.
Yeah, in Spain they do it as well. So if you're saying something and you don't want to, like, jinx it, like, for example, what?
I really hope that it doesn't rain. And then you knock on something that's made of wood with your fist, as if you were to knock on a door. So that way you shield yourself from it raining.
Right, yeah.
Because you said it aloud.
Yeah, or I think I'm going to get this job, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right, because if you say, I think I'm going to get this job, and you don't knock on wood, it might be because you said that and you didn't knock on wood.
Exactly. That's why you didn't get the job.
Totally logical.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a couple of the origins of these.
Yeah. One of them, it's bad luck to open an umbrella indoors.
There's some disagreement or some uncertainty about the origin of this, but I think what most people have concluded is it comes from about like Victorian England, when umbrellas were a little bit more unwieldy probably than modern umbrellas. And so if you open one indoors, it could injure someone or break something.
That makes sense.
And it could also, provoke unpleasant words, it says, which is technically bad luck.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. It's like just a way to make sure that people don't break things.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It is bad luck if you open an umbrella inside and then you immediately break something.
Yeah. It's like really, really annoying, especially if there's something valuable around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, like, it's your fault that you opened the umbrella indoors because there's no reason to do that otherwise.
Right.
Right. Another one is it's bad luck to walk under a leaning ladder. This one goes back really far, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's from ancient Egypt. A ladder leaning against a wall forms a triangle. Egyptians regarded triangles as like a sacred shape, like their pyramids are triangles. And so to pass through a triangle was to desecrate the gods.
Right.
And so then, like, when Christianity became the new religion, 3 things formed a triangle. A ladder rested against the crucifix, so it became the symbol of wickedness, betrayal, and death. And walking under a ladder courted misfortune. So in England in the 1600s, criminals were forced to walk under a ladder on their way to the gallows.
Right.
That was super cool.
Yeah. Force them to have some bad luck.
Yeah, that's harsh.
So a broken mirror, this basically comes from divination. If a person looked into a mirror and the image was distorted, he was likely to die. And if not, he would live. That was from ancient Greece.
Oh. Huh.
And the Romans added something else. They thought that people's health changed in 7-year cycles. So a distorted image from a broken mirror meant 7 years of ill health or misfortune rather than
super cool.
outright death.
I didn't know that they thought that health cycles are in 7 years.
No, I had no idea.
Cool. There are a few more here, but I really love the one about sneezes.
Yeah.
Actually, this says something a little different from what I've heard.
I think there are a lot of different theories about it.
Yeah.
But
the one I like the most, which is the one I'm going to tell right now. So during the Black Plague, which, if you don't know, 1/3 of Europe passed away when this disease was sweeping the continent in the Middle Ages. Sneezing was one of the symptoms of the plague. So if you started to sneeze, people would say, God bless you. Because it meant if you're sneezing, then you have the plague. If you have the plague, you're going to die. So they would say, God bless you, because you're going to die, and hopefully you'll go into heaven. So God bless you, Salud, Gesundheit, in all these European languages that's what we say when people sneeze, just because that's where it comes from.
Right. Another one that I really liked was spilling salt.
Yeah.
So you might be able to guess why this is considered bad luck. At one time, it was very valuable. But around 3500 BC, the ancient Sumerians first thought of the idea of nullifying the bad luck by throwing it over your shoulder, and which spread to the Egyptians, the Assyrians, and then the Greeks. So this is a really, really old one.
Yeah.
That we still do. I mean, I still do that, actually.
I actually never really understood why we throw salt. Somehow, like, that superstition went past me.
Okay.
It's, you throw salt over your shoulder for good luck?
Yes, if you spill the salt, it's bad luck. And then to counteract that, you throw it over your left shoulder.
Okay, over your left shoulder. Noted.
Yeah, make sure you're doing it.
Yeah, I actually have spilt salt lately, so maybe that's why I got sick. Never mind.
Maybe, yeah, definitely.
Rachel takes this very seriously.
No, not really, but this one has a really interesting etymology. The word salary comes from salt, sal, the Latin word. Latin? I guess so.
Also Spanish.
Right, yeah. So people used to value salt very, very highly. And if you've ever heard the expression, someone is worth their salt or not worth their salt, meaning they're given money to buy salt. So salt was
so cool.
Very valuable back in the day.
That's so interesting. I love it when like you see cultural superstitions or beliefs in expressions. I think that's so interesting.
So anyway, those were some of our highlights, I think.
Yeah, we'll post that in the show notes as well.
Mm-hmm. But let's talk about, why do we even have superstitions? Let's see what we can gather from the ones that we looked at, the different origins that we looked at, and take a look at that. Any ideas that you get from the ones that we looked at?
I mean, it sounds like to me superstitions are created as a form of either social control or kind of like a way to create an explanation for things, maybe.
Yeah. Exactly. So superstition, the word, comes from Latin superstitio, meaning to stand over in awe. And it is also related to superstitious, meaning outliving or surviving. And yeah, I think a big part of it is a way to deal with the unknown from ignorance. So chance misfortunes can be ascribed a cause, and then you have the possibility of avoiding it by creating a ritual or creating something like that to counteract it. So there are many, many different superstitions around the world. There are many that are somewhat universal in parts of the world, but others that are quite unique.
Yeah.
Also, one thing that I think is interesting to think about is some professions actually have more superstition in them, such as actors, fishermen, gamblers, miners, athletes, because the success is not so dependent on the self, but outside forces.
Totally, yeah.
So if you think about like old sailors or something like that, they had tons of superstitions specific to their little culture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like the idea that they do well depends so much on their environment rather than their actions.
Right. And in the theater, like, you have certain things that you can't say, you know? This is just kind of a side note that I found, and I thought it was really, really, really interesting. And it's about an experiment that was done with pigeons. So basically, they were kept kind of hungry, and they were fed at regular intervals, no matter what they were doing. It wasn't dependent on their behavior at all. But by the end of the experiment, 75% of the pigeons had created little superstitions, different actions that individuals would do that they thought helped bring food. So, like turning in a circle 3 times.
Oh,
or
that's so cute.
moving their head in a certain way. And so that was so interesting. And it kind of shows that we're not the only ones who have superstitions.
It's crazy. I actually do remember learning about that experiment in one of my psychology classes. I don't really have anything else to say about it, but it is really interesting that, like, anybody can develop a superstition when you really want something to happen and you have no explanation as to how it's going to happen.
Yeah. It almost makes more sense in animals. I mean, a lot of the human ones, they're from very old times.
Yeah.
So when there was less scientific knowledge and
right.
a lot more unknown.
I mean, it explains so much, like horoscopes. Like, why do we have... People would look at the sky and say, oh, you're feeling weird today because your stars are out of alignment, you know, something like that.
Right,
so,
definitely.
Yeah.
So, shall we dive right in?
Yeah, I mean, I did want to mention really fast...
Oh, the fairies.
Yeah, Irish fairies. Like, I've mentioned them, I think, before in a few episodes, but I just did a little bit of research before this episode since we're talking about superstitions. It's just one of the coolest things because Ireland has this culture around fairies that is really, like, deeply embedded. So fairies are a secretive people whom the local Irish people blame for their bad luck. So there are different fairies in different places, like native to different areas. They're believed to be descendants of one of the first tribes that came to Ireland, so actual people. And it's said that when warrior tribes like the Milesians began to arrive in Ireland, these, I can't pronounce it, Tuatha De Danann, were defeated in battle, but they would not be forced to leave. They loved Ireland so much that they decided to use their magic to shrink themselves and live underground. So each Irish village has its own fairy tree or a hawthorn bush where the fairies live, and you can visit the bush and ask the bush for something that you want, apparently. Like, please, Irish friends, help me out here if you can, and your wish might be granted. But there are different kinds of fairies, like I said, in different places. So a leprechaun is just one of the different kinds of fairies that's native to a specific area, and they're protectors of treasure, and they avoid contact with humans at all costs. So each area with a fairy has its own legend behind the fairy. So you've heard of leprechauns, you've heard of the headless horseman. If you've seen The Legend of Sleepy Hollow or read it, there's a headless horseman, and that's based on the Dullahan, which is a really active fairy in rural parts of Sligo and Down. And yeah, it's headless, and it rides on a horse, and it either carries its head in its hand or on the saddle next to it. So yeah, and then you've also heard the phrase screaming like a banshee. Mm-hmm. And a banshee is also an Irish fairy. It's an ancestral spirit who has been appointed to forewarn members of ancient Irish families of impending death. And according to legend, the banshee can only cry for 5 major Irish families, which are the O'Neills, the O'Briens, the O'Connors, the O'Gradys, and the Kavanaghs.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm going to post this article definitely about different types of Irish fairies on the show notes, and I highly recommend you check it out, because each of these fairy stories is just you could make a movie out of any of them easily.
Yeah, and the podcast Lore, he has several episodes about fairies in Ireland. Oh,
cool. Yeah, we'll link to that too, for sure.
Yeah, so you can check that out as well. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So, shall we dive in and listen to some of our friends?
Yeah, for sure. First, we'll warm up with my husband, Seth. He studied anthropology in college, and he was really into it, and so he went to the Southwest in the U.S. and learned about the Navajo skinwalkers, so we'll take a listen to him first.
Hi, this is Seth, and I have a cultural superstition that I know about. So, quick disclaimer, because I have a background in anthropology, even talking about the superstition is kind of a taboo for the Navajo peoples. It's kind of like in Harry Potter, where you have to use he who must not be named as opposed to Voldemort. But the superstition in question is about the skinwalkers. The Algonquin tribes have Wendigos, Europeans have werewolves, but the Navajo skinwalkers, which are basically witch doctors that shapeshift into animals, and they are not only dangerous but malevolent. Basically, they use their witchcraft to change into animals and hunt people in the night. It's kind of creepy when you hear a Navajo person tell you these stories, because they have such a fear and respect for the mythology that kind of makes you believe it too. But it's not something that you talk about in everyday conversation. The end.
I thought it was really cool that he said talking about the superstition is taboo. Mm-hmm. Actually, I've heard the Irish fairies are the same way.
Okay.
People don't really talk about them, and they say it's silly, but they'll build a road around the local fairy tree or bush.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that he compared it to Harry Potter.
Yeah, I like that too.
It makes it a little easier for some of us to understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think he also makes a really good point that, like, Europeans have werewolves, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like dragons. Each culture has its own dragon. Each culture has its own werewolf or skinwalker in this case.
Yeah. So there's so much mysticism around their superstitions, their folklore, that it's not even to be spoken of.
Yeah. That's cool. Nice. Well, thank you, Seth.
Yes, thank you.
Let's move on to Katharina.
Sounds good.
Yeah, this is from Katharina, who's from Germany. And let's have a listen to what she grew up hearing.
I'm Kate, and I grew up near Frankfurt, Germany. There are some superstitions I learned growing up, so we do have a couple of those, but the one that comes to my mind right away is to never congratulate someone before their actual birthday, at least not a German person. That is considered really, really bad luck. So even if you have a party celebrating into your birthday, don't make the mistake coming to the party and saying happy birthday right away. Wait till after midnight. There are even some people who go that far that you're not supposed to congratulate them before the time they were actually born, but that's taking it a bit far, I guess. An unlucky number in my culture is the number 13. But it's actually, I'm not sure if it's really the number or if it's just the combination of the number 13 on a Friday. So Friday the 13th is considered not really bad luck, but a dark day. And if on that particular day, Friday the 13th, a black cat runs in front of you from left to right, like crosses your path, that is the worst luck you can get. You better turn around, lay down in bed, and hope the house doesn't burn down, pretty much. We do have superstitions for good luck as well, obviously. So one of the biggest superstitions for good luck is the chimney sweeper. A lot of people who see a chimney sweeper are really happy. And the reason for that is also in the past, obviously, because the roofs were covered in straw. And if that fell in the chimney, it would easily cause the house to burn down. So whenever the chimney sweeper came, it minimized the risk of the house burning down because he cleaned the chimney, obviously. So that's why the chimney sweeper is good luck in Germany. I personally do not have any items that I keep for good luck, but I do know a lot of people have like a horseshoe hanging in their house or a little pig somewhere as decoration. I don't even know why we have the pig as good luck. I do know the horseshoe is... So some people do have a horseshoe hanging in their house. The open part is facing the floor, and the belief is that evil spirits can't walk through something with the shape of a horseshoe. So I'm not a very superstitious person, but I do have that one superstition that came into my mind right away. So I do not want anyone to congratulate me before my actual birthday. And since I came to the US a year and a half ago, that was pretty tough around my birthday because people did not understand why I wouldn't celebrate my birthday on the weekend before, because my birthday was on a Tuesday. And they were like, why don't we just go out for dinner on the weekend before? I was like, that's not going to happen. That's bad luck. So it's not just congratulate someone for your birthday, but also don't celebrate it before your actual birthday. And I even went so far that I told my friends and family in Germany they cannot say happy birthday at midnight in Germany because it's not yet my birthday in the US. So they had to wait till 6 o'clock in the morning, which was midnight here in the US for me, to congratulate me. So I guess that's really superstitious. Also, people didn't understand why I wouldn't open a birthday gift before my birthday if they didn't see me on my birthday or a few days later and they wanted to give it to me, and I wouldn't open it because it wasn't my actual birthday. So you only celebrate your birthday on your birthday or later, but never beforehand. Yeah, that was funny. So, like I said, generally I'm not superstitious and don't really care about those beliefs, but I just can't get rid of the birthday thing. I never even really thought about passing them on to the next generation, but I do think it's interesting to know about those superstitions and about those beliefs and where they come from. It's also part of our culture, so I would like to keep it that way and pass it on to the next generation, but just in an informative way. So I would not want my child to freak out because she saw a black cat on Friday the 13th, but I would want her to know that this is a belief of bad luck in our culture.
Thoughts?
Yeah, one of the most interesting ones that really, I think, fits that pragmatic reason for superstition is the chimney sweep.
Yeah, I like that one a lot too.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. You're going to have better luck because your house is not going to burn down. That is the good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Also, I kind of like that it gives chimney sweeps like a particular status in Germany. Like, maybe a little bit more respected.
Right. Normally they're kind of bottom rung.
Yeah, I don't know if that like was reflected in their salary.
Probably
like,
not, but
yeah, probably not, but maybe a respected
better
member of the
seen.
working class. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of being, the just constantly dirty manual work.
Right. Totally. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, yeah, I really liked the chimney sweep one. I also have never heard the thing about why we do the horseshoe. I mean, I've heard of that before. I don't know if I've seen it in the U.S.
She said open side down, right?
Yeah, open side needs to be down.
Because I've always heard the other, open side up. And when I was reading a little bit, it's thought that luck accumulates inside and is kept in that kind of little bowl shape.
Okay. So in Germany, maybe it needs to be down so that evil spirits can't pass through.
Yeah, so it's like a different logic or a different reasoning, so that's interesting.
Actually, you think about like dream catchers are to keep bad dreams from you, so you can put that over your bed. And also, Seth and I have a portrait of the Bodhidharma. I don't really know who he is, but we got it in Korea, and it's supposed to also keep evil spirits from your house, so you keep it at the entrance to your door.
Okay.
I really like those kinds of things. Like, no, I don't believe in it, but I think it's a cool idea, and why not cover all your bases?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You never really know.
Right. If you have the chance to cover your bases, just do it. But I like what Katarina had to say about passing it on to the next generation. I think I agree with that. Like, even though it's not real and everybody understands it's not real, it's still kind of fun to think about, and it's a part of who you are,
Exactly, yeah. It's not that you have to be a staunch believer or something like that, but
yeah,
it's part of your culture to remember.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially if you have parents from two different cultures, it would be interesting to, get both sides.
Right. Yeah, it's fun. Well, anyway, thank you, Katarina. Thank you. That's really cool.
Yeah. We won't wish you a happy birthday before your birthday.
Yeah, I did like that one too. I remember that from Germany. It doesn't matter in the U.S. Like, I see you have a birthday coming. Happy birthday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy early birthday.
I frequently celebrate before my actual birthday, so.
Oh, yeah, me too. I definitely expect to celebrate and to be celebrated on the week before and the week after my birthday.
Totally reasonable.
Yeah. It's like the best 2 weeks of the year, honestly. Well, next we have our friend Abdullah from our episode on Ramadan. He got some of his friends together to record a little bit for us on cultural superstitions in Saudi Arabia. So that is so cool of you, Abdullah. Thank you so much for doing that.
I love that.
Okay, so let's take a listen to them.
Hi there, I am Abdullah from Saudi Arabia, from Tabuk City, which is located in northwest of Saudi Arabia and the border with different countries such as Jordan and other different countries.
Hi, I am Mansour from Saudi Arabia as well, and I live in Jeddah, which is in the western part of the Saudi Arabia.
Hi, my name is Abdul. I am from Saudi Arabia, from Riyadh, which is the capital in Saudi Arabia. I grew up in a small city which is called Zulfi.
Alright, we are from different region of Saudi Arabia, so we seriously have different cultures, perspective and view of the world. So I think you guys are gonna enjoy with this different 3 region of Saudi Arabia. Alright, let's start with the first one. The first question: does your culture have any superstition that you learned about growing up? That's actually a funny one. I will start with this one, guys. We grow up like believing in vegetables will vegetable will make your hair soft and long as well. So since I was young, I ate vegetables to make my hair long and soft, but obviously it doesn't work. I try. So yeah, Abdurrahman, Abdul, do you have something in your culture?
Yeah, we have a lot, and one of them is you are in bad luck when you find your shoes upside down. I mean, the people around you, when they see your shoes
facing the up.
Facing the up, they will yell at you, and they will say you have to turn the shoes the right way up. So it's kind of bad luck, or like that. Yeah, Mansour.
One of the superstitions that I hear a lot when I was a child, which is the ghost. My mother and my father always tell me, Mansour, do that, or like for example, do the household chores, unless the ghost will come after you. So so always my mother tried to intimidate me.
What the ghost is called?
Al-Salom. Okay, so I grew up afraid from that Al-Salom. So I think this is one of the superstitions that I heard a lot, and I wanted to share it right now. So the third question, which is, does your culture believe in any lucky or unlucky numbers? So in my culture, there is no, we don't have this kind of superstitions. I think this kind of superstitions mostly come from Western culture, but Abdul has a story and he wants to share it right now. Tell us your story, Abdul.
Actually, when I was young, we believe if someone wear his t-shirt and he put 9, the number of 9, they will be successful. So even when they
will play well, right?
Yeah. So just you have to wear number 9 and you will be
second.
Yeah, great. And
that's funny. Okay, what is next?
So the fourth question, which is, are there any lucky or unlucky things that come to mind? Do you have any items from your culture that keep for good luck? In my culture, the 9th month in our country, which is Ramadan, a lot of people like to do things in Ramadan because they believe if you do anything in Ramadan, it will be successful. For example, a lot of my friends try to open their stores in Ramadan because they think if they open in that month, their store will be blessed and they will get a lot of money. So this is one of the things that my people or my friends believe, that is very lucky to open your business in Ramadan, which is the 9th month in the Arabic calendar. So which one of you guys has the lucky things in your culture?
If you see the crow walk above your wall house, you will have something bad, someone from your family members die or something like this. Yeah.
Masbah is a kind of necklace that a lot of people in my country wear to give a good luck. So, do you have anything like masbah or anything that you wear in your city?
Rosary.
What is a rosary?
I have seen this with Christian belief too. Some people here, especially I think Spanish people.
Or also
It's a kind of necklace.
It's actually not just about lucky things. It's about masculinity as well. Yeah, it shows you how masculine you are if you have like this masbah. It's funny. I don't know.
Some of them they are expensive.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. It's seriously expensive.
So if you buy a expensive rosary, you will get a lot of lucky things.
Lucky things. Yeah. And now they make it with a good smell as well. It's okay. What else we have here? Do the superstition ever affect the action you take?
Yes, I think the Sal'um, which is my mother was trying to intimidate me. It affected my life because I thought it's real when she told me at the first time. But then I realized when I become older, I realized that it is lies and no one will come after you if you don't do your household chores. So it really affected me. I can say that. Abdullah, does the superstitions affect your life?
Not really. Yeah, I was, especially my family. They don't believe in like superstition and many things. But my grandparents, of course they believe in this. But my parents and the environment where I lived in, it was not really believing in superstitions. So this is why I don't really believe in most of them. But I have heard about a lot of them. So, Abdul, do you have something?
Actually, yes. Especially with the shoes that we have to turn to the right side. And when I became adult, it's faded away. So, yeah, it will not affect the new generation.
Okay, the last one here. Yeah, how do you feel about the superstition lucky things? Oh, we just answered this. Do you think they should go on the next generation?
I think no, because we have some reason, some causes. It will affect the new generation. I mean, like the social media and the TV. I mean, kids and the new generation. They will see and they will learn a lot of things. So, why we believe this when we grow up? Because we didn't have anything to see and to learn from this. So I think the new generation, they will have something it's better than us.
I don't think the superstitions should go on to the next generation because it's lies and it's not real. So I don't think there is any beneficial. I know it's beneficial for my mother to keep me disciplined or to discipline her kids, but I don't think there is a great evidence that we should keep it to the next generation. So this is my opinion.
Yeah, me too. Really, I disagree to like raise kids with especially the new generation because we are influenced by different culture, so it's not really good things to grow up and then you figure out they will lie at you and you. So yeah, I disagree with moving this to the next generation.
So it sounds like they're not really interested in passing their superstitions on to the next generation.
Yeah, it seems like not as much. I did think it was funny, though, that quite a few were kind of what you said, kind of based in, like, controlling children or making them do things like eat vegetables or do the housework.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, there was one Irish fairy one about that. It was, like, in a certain place in Ireland, kids are told, don't eat these berries because they're the fairies' berries. And if you eat them, the fairies are going to kill you. And that was a way to keep these kids from eating poisonous berries.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's something similar.
Yeah. Yeah, that ghost one was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The crow over the house, that seems familiar. Like maybe we have something along those lines as well.
Yeah, crows are always associated with negative things. I guess like I think about crows and Halloween and scarecrows. Like we just have a negative culture around crows.
Yeah.
Poor crows get such a bad rap.
Yeah, they're really smart, but they're really kind of creepy.
Exactly. Oh yeah, the number 9. That was kind of interesting. I've never heard anything like that before. 9 is not a common lucky number, I think. It's interesting how we choose different numbers. Like in the West, we have 13. In Asia, it's 4. So instead of going to the 4th floor, a lot of times you'll go to F floor, or you'll skip number 4. Also, you never want a license plate with the number 4 on it. You don't want to give things to people in groups of 4.
Right. Yeah, it's a little harder to avoid than 13 because it's just one digit.
Yeah. But the reason is because, and there's a lot of this in Chinese, the word death is si, and the number 4 is si. And so they're just different tones. So it sounds like they do that with a lot of words, though, in Chinese. Like, this word sounds like the word for this because it's the same pinyin but a different tone, or it's the same word but with a different tone. And so we associate them with each other.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it's really cool. It's kind of fun.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting Muspaha?
Yeah.
Similar to like a rosary.
Yeah. I want to see what that looks like. If I find one, then I'll put it on the show notes.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was really interesting. Oh, yeah, the shoes. I love the shoe one.
Yeah.
That one cracked me up, actually. Never put your shoes upside down.
Yeah, it's almost hard to do that. Because they naturally just kind of turn over, right?
Yeah, especially if you're not very careful with them like I am. Actually, that's going to be similar to the next one we have, which is Gary, who grew up in the UK but was born in Scotland. So he's kind of got a Scottish culture.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Gary, and I'm British. I was born in a town just outside Glasgow in Scotland, but I grew up in a city called Leeds in West Yorkshire, for those who are not familiar with the UK. Growing up as a mix of both Scottish and English culture, as it were, there are a few superstitions that come to mind. I'll start with the more common ones in England, such as black cats, not walking under ladders, not crossing each other on the stairs, that sort of thing. But I find that from my Scottish roots are a little more quirky, as it were. For example, growing up, my mum, if I bought a new pair of shoes, new shoes were never allowed on the table. I know it sounds like that's just common sense, but my mum would literally like break an arm because she felt that the house would burn down if new shoes were on the table. Also, a thing with hands, like right hand's good luck, bad hand's unlucky. So, for example, if you've got an itchy hand, then Scottish people are convinced they're going to become millionaires, and if they get an itchy hand on the left side, they're convinced that the plague is going to come back or something ridiculous like that. Also, itchy noses. If you get an itchy nose, you get angry. But then again, Scottish people are always angry, so that doesn't really count, I suppose. Do I believe in any lucky or unlucky numbers? Not really unlucky numbers. I think there's the cliche of Friday the 13th, but from my personal experience, I don't think from my family or anything there's no unlucky numbers. Also, New Year's in Scotland, it's called Hogmanay, for those who don't know. If you are a dark-headed person has to walk through your door first. Literally, I've seen Scottish parties where there's blondes lined up outside, not allowed to come into the party until a dark-haired person comes, unless they have a piece of coal. This is more for older people. I think people in their 20s wouldn't do this because they don't really care, but I've seen like people like my grandparents' generation not letting people over the threshold until they have coal. The lucky things that come to mind. In my family, when I was 18, my grandparents bought me a wallet with my initials on it because they believe that you should never buy your own wallet because that's bad luck. It's a bad fortune that you'll lose cash. And if you ever buy someone a wallet, it has to be lined with silver or gold. So I have a pound coin in my wallet that's been in my wallet for 6 years, and I will never spend that pound coin. You know, it's ridiculous. There's been times when I was like, I need a drink. But it's like, no, I cannot spend the pound coin because I don't know, the world will come to an end. So pretty much that pound coin is redundant and yeah, it'll stay there forever. I actually I think I have learnt from my mum in some ways, like with the shoes thing, with the itchy nose, with the pound coin. I know it's hocus pocus and it isn't real, but I do try to live my life by that. Like subconsciously, I don't even think about it. Like, if a friend right now just put their new shoes on the table, I'm like, no! Knock it off. So yeah, I think it has influenced me a lot, and I do follow that. Oh, no, actually, thinking of numbers, this is, it's not a date, but it's a time. But I think this is quite common within the Western world of superstition. My great aunt, she, if she's not asleep by 12, she'll stay up till past 4, and this sounds really, really odd. But in her eyes, it's the witching hour. Witches are not real people. But yeah, try telling her that. Apparently, that's when she's very religious, you see, and that's when the devil's most. I don't know, but yeah, that's a little. So from the people who listen to this, I got to think my family are just morons, which maybe they are, maybe they're not. But hey, I'm being honest. How do I feel about future generations? Yeah, I think that if I ever had children or nephews or nieces or the next generation of my family, I think these will be embedded into them as well, just naturally, not like forcing it on them like some form of cult. But yes, I do feel that if I had a child, I would pass on the same nonsense that my parents passed on to me.
His were so interesting.
I know, I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the putting new shoes on the table. I've never heard of that before at all.
No.
The New Year's one, too, was really cool.
Yeah, I can, especially in Scotland, where I imagine that a lot of people have light hair.
Yeah, exactly.
He said the line of light-haired people just waiting for someone with dark hair to get there.
I know. It's cold.
Especially in Scotland.
I know. Exactly. Will somebody please get me some coal?
Yeah, it should be like in the invitation, you send it to one friend with dark hair. Please come on time. Everyone will be waiting for you.
Oh my god, can you imagine, like, if nobody with brown hair or coal shows up?
I guess
stay outside.
No party then.
Sorry.
That's funny.
Yeah, hogmanay. I've never heard that either.
No. The buying your own wallet thing, that sounds somewhat familiar to me.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe somebody that I have run across has said something about that.
It's funny, actually. I was talking to him about it afterward, and he said even, like, he won't let his friends buy their own wallet. He'll be like, okay, send me money, and I'll get you the wallet that you want.
Okay. Some things just get ingrained, I think, more deeply than others.
Exactly. It's kind of like knocking on wood. Just be safe. If you can do it, then why not?
Yeah.
I've never heard about the one with the witching hour, staying awake until 4:30.
No. That was really very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of the witching hour,
right,
but not that you have to be awake unless you went to sleep before.
Yeah. If anybody has heard of this before, please leave us a comment. He said it was really common in the West, but I've never heard anything like that before.
No. Maybe if you fall asleep, you could be somehow tampered with by a witch or I don't know exactly. Something along those lines, maybe.
Maybe in the, like, mid falling asleep process.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Gary. That was really interesting. I don't think your family's full of morons.
No, it's a very rich cultural history.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, so he mentions that the right hand is good luck and the left is unlucky. We have this as well, you know, if your palm itches, then money is coming to you.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, actually.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
I always heard that. Like, your palm itches, oh, that means money.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I wish my palm itched right now, actually. But
don't we all, Rachel?
Yeah. I thought this was interesting, though. The itchy nose leads to getting angry.
Yeah, but we say if your nose is itchy, somebody's thinking about you.
Your nose?
Yeah.
I thought it was if your ears are burning, somebody's talking about you. Oh, maybe you're right, though. Maybe that's a different one.
Yeah, that was really funny because it was actually very similar to our last guest, who is Emilio from Venezuela and Rachel's boyfriend. And yeah, he also had the same thing about money. So if your right palm is itching, then money is coming. And if your left palm is itching, then you will soon be losing money.
So let's take a listen.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, I'm Emilio. I come from Venezuela, and back in my country there are a lot of superstitions, especially because my family comes from the country. They live in a very rural area, so in those kind of populations back in my country, well, maybe in every country, superstitions are, a day-to-day thing. But I have come across the most shocking ones that I can remember, the most outrageous ones that just go on the edge of being completely absurd, and I want to share them with you today. First of all, I would like to start with a house cleaning related one. If a person is sweeping, back in my country, it is said that you should go away from the broom. Not because a witch is coming or something like that, but it is said that if you get your feet swept, bad luck is coming. And the most common one is that actually if you get your feet swept, you will never get married. So, well, I think I know a few people that would like to get their feet swept. What else? Oh, this one actually happened to me when we were in a family meeting. I think it was one of my uncle's birthday or something like that. And I was sitting down and I decided to fold my arms behind my head, like when you're laying in a hammock and you grab the back of your head with both of your palms, when you're super relaxed. But I was sitting down with that position, and one of my cousins said, "Stop doing that, because if you fold your arms like that, it brings bad news." And I literally laughed at his face, and I was like, "That is the most absurd thing I've heard in such a long time." I was like, yeah, how dare you say that? How dare you unvalidate, if that word exists, our beliefs and everything? I was like, come on, man. That's not possible. The truth is that I don't know if it was related, but like an hour later, after I folded my arms behind my head, one of my cousins and her husband started arguing very loudly. But well, I'm pretty sure it was not related to me because that relationship was not doing too good to start with. What else? Oh, on another family meeting, I had an empty chair next to me. So I started spinning it, balancing it on one of its legs. And this very same cousin said, "Stop doing that because it brings bad luck." It's a very common thing for superstitions to just bring bad luck, but it was such a silly thing like that. What else? Oh, this is a very common one. Back in my country, it is said that if a kid walks under a table, he or she won't grow. So, mothers get super scared whenever they see their children walking under the table and be like, "Oh no, please get out of there because you won't grow." I've heard that quite a lot of times, actually. Another thing is that in a Venezuelan home, rice must always be there, because rice is said to bring wealth, to be related with wealth. So it is very common, if you step in a Venezuelan person's house, you will see a big bowl full of rice with some coins in it. It is more common to see very old coins because these bowls are normally in seniors' houses. But rice has been related to historically as a symbol of wealth. That's why, at least in my country, that's why they throw rice at weddings, to the groom and the bride. Oh, I have another one. This is a very good one. And if you have decorating elephant miniatures, they should always be set in a way that they turn their backs towards the door, and they must be set in uneven numbers in order to bring luck into the home. I know, incredible, right? I've never had elephants.
I don't think I've done that bad. In Venezuela, in children's birthday parties, it is also a very common tradition to have a piñata. It's not only Mexican. Sometimes you will see one of your cousins or a person related to the kid's birthday to set knives, crossed knives, on the yard. And when you ask why do they do that, is to scare away the rain. Of course, I mean, how could I ask that? It's so obvious. On the other hand, there's another one that states that it is believed that big black butterflies are a bad omen. If they come into your house, they announce death. They are forecasting death. On the other hand, if it's blue or yellow, they symbolize a good omen. Something good is coming in the way. Saying this one, I just remembered another one, which is if you have a dream related to your teeth, that you lose teeth, if you lose a tooth, if you chip a tooth, something related to tooth, it means death. It means that someone is gonna die. I know, very dark, isn't it? But apparently that keeps things more entertaining back in my country, and the rural areas. There's also superstitions related to body parts. Especially, there are a lot related to hands. But one that I've heard throughout my whole life is that if you have these little white spots on your nails, I'm pretty sure you've seen them, you've had them, you've seen people with them. But if you have those, that means that you've lied. Every white spot on your nail is a lie that you've said. So, I don't know if it also relates to the size. If it's a big white spot, then it's a big liar. If you feel like if your right palm is itching, that means that money's coming on the way. So, have that in mind. And if it's the left one that is itching, that means that money's gonna leave you. You're gonna have to pay for something. What else? Oh, yes, there is this one that says that if your ear is itchy, or if you hear a little beep, like a very sharp beep, that means that someone's talking about you. Someone's mentioning you in a conversation. Yeah, that's a very interesting one. And, oh yeah, we have several superstitions related to pregnancy and birth, but by far my favorite one is because I remember this one particularly because the first time I heard it, I laughed everything off in front of my aunt. If you do not satisfy a pregnant woman's craving, then the kid, when it's born, is going to be born with the mouth open. Even thinking about it, it sounds silly. I mean, what, is he going to be like, throughout the whole life? I still don't get it. I still think it's funny. But well, these are just a few that I just came up with real quick, and I hope you've enjoyed them.
So Emilio had a lot of things for us, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But you did mention toward the beginning of the episode, in some professions like fishing or acting or farming, a lot of the circumstances that are out of somebody's control, that kind of profession becomes more superstitious because you want to do things that bring good luck, right, so that you have good circumstances. So that's kind of like where he's going when he says, a lot of my family works in the country.
Yeah, for sure. And he said something to me once a long time ago about, oh, don't sweep my feet. And I was like, what? He's like, then I won't get married. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh my God.
And so I have heard that one from him before, but a lot of them were completely new.
Don't sweep my feet.
I don't know, maybe he was sitting down or he was walking near the broom or something, I don't know.
I also really liked the one about a kid walking under a table. I wonder if that's the kid's gonna hit his head on the table or something.
Maybe, yeah. I also thought it was funny that kind of the balancing in the chair.
Yeah.
Being bad luck. Again, strikes me as something more pragmatic than anything.
Yeah, totally.
Well, yeah, it is bad luck if you fall and, like, crack your head open. Like, that's immediate bad luck. That's like saying, you know, like, don't jump wildly on the roof or something. Like, yeah, you might fall off. It's inherently bad luck, I guess.
Right. It's like opening an umbrella indoors. Like, please don't do that.
Right. Something bad's just going to happen when you do it.
Yeah. The rice thing was really cool. It's like a physical evidence of a cultural superstition.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar to salt, like how it's valuable, or how it was very valuable.
Definitely.
And actually, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, the kid walking under the table, then he won't grow. That's kind of similar to something that I read about old American superstitions that disappeared in the 20th century. It was like, if you touch a child's head with something, then they won't grow. Something like that. I thought it was interesting, the little white spots on your nails.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too. It actually is an indication of like low levels of some vitamin, I've heard.
Sure that makes a bit more scientific sense.
My favorite one, though, was the cross knives in the yard to scare away the rain.
Yeah, right.
I love what he said about it. Like, oh, of course that's what it's for. Why didn't I think of that?
When you don't really have control over the situation, you make up rituals that you can do.
Yeah, like a rain dance, basically.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Amelia. That was really interesting. I really appreciate it. Yours was really chock full of good superstitions. So, cool. Well, if you have anything to contribute, listeners, to our list of cultural superstitions, of course we would love to hear from you, as always. There's some really cool stuff out there. Of course, we can't cover everything, and in fact we didn't even really touch Asia and Africa, which are just little hotbeds of cultural superstitions. So maybe we'll have to do a cultural superstitions part 2 another time as well, if we get some contributors from there.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
But if you're from a country that we didn't mention, we'd love to hear an interesting superstition that you have.
Definitely. That'd be so awesome. So, yeah, let us know. And now it's time for Lost in Translation. Yay! This week we have a Lost in Translation moment from Leonard in the U.S., and I think you're really going to like it.
Hi, this is Leonard. I've got a Lost in Translation moment for everybody. It involves traveling last year when I'm about 56. You would think that I know about the world and I'm as wise as could be, but really it's my first train trip in Germany. And so my relatives know that I might get messed up, so they actually bring me to the train station, put me at the right gate, and around 2 o'clock leave me, and they say, wait, because the train you need is at 2:14. Well, as the relatives leave, here comes the train about 2:04, and I says, great, it's early, I can just jump on, get my luggage, take my shoes off, and just rest as they cruise on out of here. And as I got the luggage on, I noticed the train started pulling out about 2:10. And I said, well, I better get to my seat really quickly. It looks like they were really running early. And I found out, to my horror, someone was sitting in my seat. So not only is the train moving, I got my luggage in the aisle, but dadgum, I've got to work on getting a place to sit down. And I had reserved a seat. So I showed the person my ticket. Clearly I was right, because I made sure I had the letter and the number right. And they showed me that I was on the wrong train. And that really, the 2:04 train is a different train than the 2:14 train. And as I was leaving, and we got onto another track, I could see the 2:14 train pulling in to pick up people. And all I could do is scratch through the window, no! So anyway, I waited agony for 10 minutes till the conductor came by, and I pleaded my case that I did have a ticket, I wasn't riding illegally, but I was on the wrong train. And he did some research for me after a little while and found out that my wrong direction and the train I wanted did cross at one key town. If I got off at that key town, I could hop a few tracks and get on to my train I was supposed to go on. So I waited and waited and waited, And it did work out. But boy, my lost in translation moment is that when they say 2:04 in Germany, they mean it. And the train is only there maybe a minute or two, and it's out of there. And 2:14, they mean it. So make sure you check your clock, because that train's a-coming, and make sure you're on time. That's it.
Oh, so good.
That's so good. Yeah. Yep, the Germans are quite punctual.
Yeah. Almost
German
to a
infrastructure.
fault. Yeah. In their infrastructure. Yeah, that's really funny. I love that he was like, I'm sorry, I think you're in my seat. No.
Yeah, that's like a cultural lost in translation.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I love those.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leonard, for submitting that.
Yes. Thankfully, that didn't happen to us when we were in Germany.
Oh, yeah?
But
yeah, I mean, I can really see how that would happen. They really don't spend a lot of time on the tracks.
Yeah. So, Leonard, I'm glad it all worked out for you.
Yeah.
You made it where you were trying to go.
Yeah, thank goodness that the conductor knew what he was doing. He wasn't just like, oh, yeah, well.
And he was understanding.
Yeah. Well, cool. If you want to send us your lost in translation moment, you can do that on our website under the contact section in the voice recorder, or you can send us a voice note to languagenerdsdoearth@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions for an episode that you'd like us to do, we have millions and millions of ideas, but we'd always like to hear from you, and just let us know if you think of one that we haven't done yet and you'd like to hear from us.
Yeah, definitely.
Everything is on the table. Yeah, make sure you subscribe to the podcast too, so you can get new episodes when they come out, which is usually weekly.
And follow us on social media. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. So if you want to connect to us, that's a great way. We'll be on those channels and we can respond to you.
Yeah. And make sure you leave us a review on iTunes, please. That way we are more visible to more people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And tell your friends about it if you enjoy listening. And that really helps us grow as well.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone, and have a great week.
Yes, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.